For an in-depth look at the top headlines and more, we're joined tonight by political analyst and publisher of the Quorum Report, Harvey Kronberg. Harvey, good to have you back in the studio.
It is good to be back. It's springtime in Austin.
It feels nice. Let's start off with Iran. There was a fake AI image that was circulating purporting to be the rescued airmen over the weekend. It was a fake, but that didn't stop two of our top officials, Governor Greg Abbott and Attorney General Ken Paxton, from retweeting it to their hundreds of thousands of followers. What do you make of that?
We're going to obviously have to take a deep breath pretty much on anything we see, not just in social media, but on television, because AI is becoming seamless in our society, and it's almost impossible to be able to tell on first blush what's AI and what's authentic.
And the legislature had an opportunity to tackle this in the last session with Phelan's proposal. The House passed it, but then it didn't go anywhere in the Senate. Do you foresee any kind of legislation on this kind of?
I do see some going forth. The blockade. There was obviously Dan Patrick, who had it out for Dade Phelan and was not going to give him any assistance in his campaign or any vindication in his campaign. But even Dan Patrick's allies have been subject now to false AI advertising, and if the lieutenant governor's on board, it seems to me it'll be a fairly seamless path to some kind of corrective legislation.
Yeah, maybe something to keep an eye out for. Let's talk about the actual war in Iran and the consequences of it. Obviously, gas prices are how most Texans are feeling it, with the prices at the pump. But there's going to be increases in other commodities. If those increases continue, do you see political ramifications for Republicans in the midterms?
Well, there's kind of a meme going around among political professionals right now. If gas is $4.50 in August, it's going to be a disaster for Republicans. And those who are handicapping races in Texas are already beginning to feel the Republican backlash. I proposed last January there'd be gains of 6 to 8 Democrats. Now, political professionals are saying a baseline of 8 gains of Democrats. And that is essentially a referendum on Donald Trump, but more so it's a referendum on the cost of living and essentially the impact of the war.
Which is what the president had run on, the cost of living.
Exactly.
And if the cost of living is going up,
avoiding forever wars in the Middle East.
Right. That's a whole other subject. Let's talk about Senate races, because the Senate Leadership Fund out of D.C. and today said that they were going to invest $342 million in Senate races across the country. But not on the list, Harvey, is Texas. What does that tell us about their sort of confidence in Texas remaining red this year? Could they maybe regret it if it's close?
You can read that round or square, frankly. It looks to me, though, that they start from the proposition that Texas will structurally is so red that it's going to be impossible to turn. But the flip side of that is, so far we haven't seen any indication from national Democrats as to whether they're going to put any money into the Tallarico race. There had been an assumption there might be up to $100 million of national money for the Democrats on this side, and they're holding their fire. They've got 5 races they think are more likely to flip for way less money than Texas. So it may just be that the Texas market is so expensive and they have to play defense less expensively in a bunch of other races.
Yeah, but Tallarico is raising a lot of money on his own, but he might have to go on his own or make the case to the National Democrats. We'll see what happens there. Let me ask you one more thing. We've got about a minute left. We talk about the Senate race so much, but we've got the primary runoffs coming up in about a month and a half. Are there any runoff races that you are particularly interested in?
Well, most of us aren't paying that much attention to Congress, but I will say up in Dallas we've got Colin Allred versus Julie Johnson. It's more of Colin Allred's district. You should handicap for a Colin Allred, but having said that, Nathan Johnson is in the AG's race. He is Dallas. I think his voter is more likely to be aligned with Julie Johnson, so that's competitive. And then down in San Antonio, you have John Lujan versus Carlos de la Cruz. De la Cruz has the Trump endorsement, but Lujan is based in San Antonio. San Antonio gave him a 27% margin despite the presidential endorsement. So at the moment, you have to handicap for Lujan.
All right, we got to watch those races. Harvey, thank you so much.
My pleasure.